Welcome to another installment of Suburban Bourbon. This is our next installment here in Vermilion, Ohio. I am Joe Vitale.
And I'm Joe Gumney.
We're very, very excited. This is actually going to be a really fun episode. We're going to be talking a little bit about Chez Francois and their upstairs tavern called Touché. And one of the exciting things about Chez Francois in particular is Joe and I, who, as you've gathered, really love bourbon.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Had one of our first experiences with some of the bourbon barrel cocktails that they do very, very well here upstairs at Touché and down here in Chez Francois. So join us today as we kind of get to know the restaurant, the tavern, and the person who runs and owns the place, Matt Mars.
Yeah, and I tell you what, these barrel cocktails, not only fantastic, but also a great way to sell our wives. I'm buying us stuff for Christmas last year. So
I'm glad you finished with something other than just sell our wives.
Exactly.
So that's exciting. It's a nice catch, Joe.
But we've done our own part in trying to do this on our own, but we're excited to see some of the great things that they're doing here at Chez Francois / Touché.
We're at 555 Main Street in Vermilion, Ohio, right on the river. So with not much more ado, let's talk a little bit here with Mr. Matt Mars. Matt, hello.
Excellent. Hello, guys. Welcome. Thank you. So cool. So, talking about a little bit about our barrel program. A little history of this. In New York City, probably about 15 years ago, all these crazy cocktail bars were coming in play, and all these guys started to experiment. I think all these guys didn't really have jobs, and so all of a sudden they were thrown into these bartender jobs. And they became like stars. I mean, it's really, really crazy about that. Remember, there's all these ambassadors. You know, before the ambassador, all these ambassadors came from all these cocktail bars in New York City. Right. You know, and they were getting paid $125,000, traveling around the country with budgets of like $100,000. Like, what a gig! Yeah, it took them about 5 years to catch up to them and say, no, we're not doing this anymore. And that, so I don't know what those guys are doing anymore now. But anyways, so. A couple of guys were experimenting, bartenders were experimenting with barrel-aged bottles. And they wanted to say, hey, if I put a Manhattan or if I did a Vieux Carre or these concoctions in a bottle, how would it age? Like if I just did it for a week, what would it taste like? If I did it for 2 weeks, what would it taste like? What if I did it for 3 weeks? And just to see if they changed it all. Well, they started experimenting with this, and there's a guy out of, I think it was Jeff Morgenthaler out of Portland, Oregon, was in town, and he was came up to this guy's apartment, and it was like a laboratory up there. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. And he got the idea, instead of aging it in a bottle, let's age it in a cask, like a wood cask. And so that's kind of where the idea came from, with getting these white oak barrels, medium charred, and he just started experimenting, saying, hey, how many days, is it 10 days, is it 11 days or 12 days? As it turns out, the rule was 21 days. Now, I don't know where the rule is 21, but they seem to think that 21 days was the optimum time to get the cocktail out. So you barrel age it for 21 days, and then what do you do with it? Well, then we put it in a bottle. So we put it in a nice carafe or something like that, and we have those displayed upstairs at Touché. After 21 days, sometimes they'll get too woody, too oaky. It's the same thing with we're talking about bourbon. Right. To talk about Pappy Van Winkle 23 or any of those 23s, anything past 23, they become a little woodsy. I don't even like the 23s. I think that 12 to 15 year is the nice blend in my mind, the way I taste, and I think that's kind of what they figured with these barrels. Beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. It's smooth. It's nice. It's not too. It's just balanced, and we want things in balance, right? So, anyways, this guy Morgenthaler did this, and it started to take off. And it was about, I'd say 5 years ago. I'm down in Miami. I'm down at the Fontainebleau. Now we're down there. My wife's Colombian, so we're going to Colombia, and it's Thursday night. We're flying into Miami on Friday to fly out of Miami on Saturday to go to Colombia. And my wife looks at me and she's like, is your passport still valid? And I'm like, oh shit, I don't think it is. So I look, and sure enough, it's not valid. Like, you gotta be kidding me. So we're already heading down. So this is it. We'll go down. We found this place you can get like a 24-hour passport, turnaround. Unfortunately, it was Martin Luther King weekend, so Monday was off. So we were down there like Monday, Tuesday. It was coming in on a Friday. So we went, got everything processed, sent it off to DC. Now it's Saturday, it's Sunday, it's Monday, it's Tuesday, Wednesday. Let me tell you, it ain't bad to be stuck at the Fontainebleau in Miami for like 5 extra days. Versus Columbia, it's not a bad gig.
It's not like somewhere else that is parts unknown.
I feel like this was premeditated, possibly.
So Michael Mina, a famous chef out of California, has a restaurant down in the basement of Fontainebleau. And it just so happens one of their managers, a guy named Eli Weiss, worked for me here in Vermilion. He's from Vermilion. And he ended up being one of the managers down there. So we got a chance to go down and kind of talk to him. And he was a manager. And they had great bartenders, unbelievable bartenders. Probably like 4 or 5 great bartenders. And they had all these barrels behind the bar. I'm like, what are these barrels? And we started the process. So we had a 5-day education on how are you going to do a barrel, and what ingredients and what's the concoctions that you guys come up with. Right. So that was kind of it. So that's kind of where I started. So I came back determined to do that here, and I think we started with like 5 or 6 barrels, and we got them all set. I got Manhattans, and I got Vieux Carre, and I got a Rusty Nail, and I got all kinds of stuff. And these guys upstairs, they don't know what to do. They're like, "This is too much. It's too many barrels." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me. What do you got to do? All you have to do is go over and pull the sprocket, and the drink's already made for you. You just got to put the ice in, and you're done. You got to be kidding me, right?" So they give me a hard time for like 3 years, and finally, ding, 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 it goes on. I'm like, those barrels are kind of nice.
Yeah, and a lot easier. Everything's made.
Exactly.
Everything's made for you. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Are you crazy? So then, like, can we get some more barrels? Because we were down to like 3 different styles of barrels in that. And so kind of right now we run with about 3 different ones, and then we kind of change things up seasonally.
So tell me, and by the way, super excited to be trying some of this stuff today. Tell me a little bit about Chez Francois, because it's a gem, really, here in Northeast Ohio.
1987, the chef and I, John D'Amico and I, started in 1987. It had been previously a French restaurant. Started in 1967, so it's been here for 55 years now. Wow. And we've been here for 35. And we're doing well. Everything was great, but we kind of said, man, it would be nice to have a bar. It'd be nice to have a private dining room. And upstairs, above us, was a dental office. And this dentist decided to build his own building. He was renting from the owner. He said, I'm going to build my own stuff. So when he moved out, we decided to move in, and we created Touché. And why Touché? A buddy of ours, John Cook, came up with the name. He goes, hey, you say, hey, I'm going to go Touché. I'm going to go Touché. Nice. So that's where Touché came in from, right? Yeah, Touché. Hey, I'm going to Touché. So I was like, that's brilliant. So John Cook was the guy that gave us the name, and then the back room we had the Parisian room, which is our private dining room. So we started that in 2007, and it just nothing happens overnight. It's a creation. It starts, and it's a process. And our process, I want to have as many scotches as I can that's on the market. I want to have as many bourbons as they'll give me, and that we always have been strong in Scotch and bourbon. But in the beginning, back then. 07, it was more single malt scotches were the rage. Bourbons, I'm telling you, I had bottles of, what's that stuff? Blanton's, I can't get rid of that stuff.
Ego, no, I don't need no more Ego Rare.
I got plenty of Ego, I got tons of Ego Rare, right? No one was drinking that. Nobody was drinking that. Yeah. It was all scotch, all single malt scotches. Then all of a sudden, I think that peatiness and the smokiness of it, got in like, I'm not sure I really like this. I'm supposed to like it, but do I really like it? Right. I don't think I do.
Right.
So like, let me try this
and Scotch is an acquired taste, right?
Agreed. And I think that you just hit on it. That peatiness is, with, really good Scotches, it's a little more mellow. But I am the same. I'm supposed to love this, but it just wasn't resonating.
So then that's when people start getting the bourbons, and so that's kind of where things. And that's probably been 5, 6, 7, 8 years, maybe not many more than that.
Well, and bourbon was, frankly, for a lot of years was a mixer. You put it in Coke, you put it in maybe in a real simple cocktail, some 7-Up. It was whatever it was, right? Whiskey sours, remember those?
No, I did.
Right? Well, of course, but it was just a simple little mixer, and it's really become. We think bourbon's very versatile, which is what makes I think it's popular. You have the smooth, you have the heavy, you have the oaky, you have just a whole array of flavors.
You had like an old fashioned, the traditional. So I'm sitting in New York City. I'm at this very famous place called Milk and Honey, and I'm watching this guy, and he puts a sugar cube. He puts a little bit of orange bitters, muddles it, bourbon, rye, whatever, on a big rock, pulls the ice out of the thing and chips the ice, beautifully clear ice in the thing, and a little orange twist. And I think, what the hell is that? That's an old fashioned. Like, that's an old fashioned? I wasn't so so my dad had the Iron Gate restaurant in Westlake.
Okay.
The old fashioned was like a half a wheel of orange, a cherry, maraschino cherry, the old red dyed cherry, and then then sugar, half like rip the sugar, put the sugar in, soda, and you're muddling that, whole thing, put a bunch of ice, and then bourbon. I'm like, what? That's the worst cocktail I've ever seen. I can't believe we sell this stuff. And that was the old fashioned. That's what these old time bartenders grew up on. They didn't grow up on the old style. So now all of a sudden these guys are reinventing, rethinking, looking at those old cocktails and saying, those old guys knew a lot. We don't need to change anything. Why don't we go back and look at those old cocktails, because they were damn good cocktails.
No, that's a great point. And it's funny because we've had this conversation at a lot of the places we go to. His old fashions, you could try 10 different places. You'll get 10 recipes.
Oh, yeah.
You'll get 10 recipes.
Oh, yeah.
And we've definitely been fortunate to find ones that we really like to go back to. But it is part art, part science, for sure.
I've tried to go out of my comfort zone a little bit with things, as you have as well.
Yep.
I tried my first Sazerac early in the year. I thought, it's going to be, because I don't really like overly strong cocktails. To me, if I'm going to drink a cocktail, the whole point is it has some flavor to it. But it was so well done, and it's one of the oldest cocktails, as you know. And I'm like, where's this been my whole life? This is really a nice drink, So Matt, let's get to the good stuff here. Tell us a little bit about
So
this.
the barrels, there's a couple things. You can get the barrels online. We like the white oak, right? And mostly come white oak. We don't want any stain. I don't want any varnish. I don't want any of that stuff on it. I don't want, they come in different colors, right? They get stainless steel. I want stainless steel because the copper ones are the ones that have a little color will bleed into the barrel, and it just isn't attractive. Like from an aesthetic standpoint, you want something that's this. I like this. This is really cool. So my friends at Bullet and Glenmorangie said, hey, I got a couple new barrels. If you're interested, let me have them. Like, beautiful. I just so happen to have a podcast, and we can do this little we can do this little thing. You get the barrel in, you put warm water in, you soak it for 3 days. You want it. Now these are really great barrels, and there wasn't much seepage because if the water's there to get the thing to what do I want to say? Expand a little bit and cover any leaks or anything. But man, these things there was no water whatsoever. So that's it. So I got the barrel, 3 days with water, take the water out. Now I'm ready to come up with my concoctions. The one thing that I learned down in Miami, they always use vermouth. Vermouth was one thing. So you do a rye, a bourbon, a scotch, whatever your base whiskey was, that's you have that as one of your ingredients. Your other key ingredients is a vermouth, a really, really nice vermouth. And so that's the other thing. You want to have, and now there's some cool vermouths out there. The Martini and Rossi are great, I guess. But, you have so many great vermouths. You have vermouth. This is one you won't see around. This is from Spain, from Lusta. That's really cool. You got Cocchi from Italy. You got Dolan from France. You got classic Carpana Antica. And each of them are their own different, styles. The Lusta one's a little more lighter style. The Carpana Antica is full-bodied. Dolan's in between. Cocchi is a little bit fuller-bodied too. And I really think they're great on their own. I mean, they're kind of like an Amaro. Amaro, this old Italian, drink that you just, with rocks, with a twist of orange on top. Man, it's just a great drink. And we do a lot with Montenegro, which is a nice Amaro from Italy. You have Montenegro and you have like Fernet Branca, and they're so extreme. Like Fernet's just like incredibly bitter, incredibly intense Amara. And then Montenegro's this beautiful, light style Amara, not too bitter. And it's just delicious. It's your style, just however you like. And there's everything in between, which these run the gamut. So when we're doing different barrels, we're going to do a different vermouth as well, just to change it up a little bit. Each of them are a little different, so why not change? Why not just have Carpana Antica? Let's try one with the Lusta. Let's try one with the Cocchi. And let's try one with the Dolan. So that's kind of one thing that we're doing, as a thought process. So we got the vermouths. Well, the whiskeys are whatever we want the whiskeys to be. That's one ingredient. So we can do bourbon. Like I said, I got Bullet bourbon here. I got Dickel rye, whatever. So those are your two of the three ingredients. Now you need the third. A lot of times we do like cognac. So we'll do a cognac as my third round, like for Vieux Carre. So we'll do a nice cognac in there. So cognac, sweet vermouth, and then a beautiful whatever whiskey you want to choose to do. The cognac could also be Grand Marnier. You can do flavor profile. You want a little orange? You can throw a little orange in there. You can do a little bit of that just to change things up a little bit. Then from there, you figure out what's your next ingredient. So now we're on the fourth ingredient. The fourth ingredient for Vieux Carre is Benedictine. So the famous French liqueur. Yes. So we're not doing a lot. So let's say for the Vieux Carre, I'm doing George Dickel, right? I'm doing Hennessy. I'm doing Carpana Antica as my 3. I'm doing Benedictine as a quarter. Bottle, a quarter of the Benedictine. Again, it's your taste. You guys say it's your barrel. Yep. You design it the way you want to design it.
And that's usually the formula that you use.
Yeah.
Is
And then
a whole fifth of 3, and then the fourth one is.
That's nice. I didn't know. Yeah. We have a couple small ones at home, and I don't know about you. I've experimented a little bit. I don't love it yet. I still have to continue to work with it, but this is good advice.
Exactly.
So then from there, let's say we did a Manhattan. So our Manhattan, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do again whatever. Let's say we do here, right? Bourbon in here. Now, let's change it up a little bit. A good friend of mine changed up. He did. You know what he did? So he does. Let's say 2 bottles of the bullet, or of the bullet bourbon, or whatever.
That's not the rye though.
That's the regular. Yeah. A bottle of the sweet vermouth, right? 2 ounces of Di Serrano, 2 ounces of cherry herring. Just 2 ounces, just enough to like, man, that's something's in there. What's in there? You know. So again, that's something you can toy around with. You know, we talked about Benedictine. You talked about you could do amaretto in that. You know, I'm just saying, as that you want that really intense kind of flavor profile. Liquor 43 is a vanilla liquor. You could experiment with that as well, but it's going to be a small portion. It's not going to be a bottle. It's going to be a quarter of a bottle. Or
Matt, what's been one of your favorite items?
The Vieux Carre is one of our most favorite. Yeah, this right here. Now, here's the difference. What are we doing with Vieux Carre? Vieux Carre is a very specific, because Vieux Carre is Peychard bitters. So Vieux Carre is very specific as far as the bitters. Because Peychard is bitters from New Orleans. Vieux Carre is a name synonymous with New Orleans. Tennessee Williams wrote a play about New Orleans called Vieux Carre. And that's where the drink comes from. So equal portions, boom, 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 of Peychard and equal portions of Angostura bitter. So Peychard is a key ingredient in the Sazerac from New Orleans. Right. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. So then you have your choice. Now we kind of got our idea, right, of what we're doing. And then we're just missing we're missing salt and pepper, right? And my salt and pepper is always my bitters, is my salt and pepper. It's to change up. I love Bittercube. Bittercube, I remember I'm down in Miami, and I'm talking to a bartender, and I'm like, what bitters you like? He's like, yeah, I like. I said, what about Fee Brothers? He's like, I don't like Fee Brothers. There's not enough alcohol in them. I'm like, do I need more alcohol? I mean, I think I got enough alcohol. I don't need more alcohol. I need flavor. I need a touch of something intricate, some flavor pro. The prices are still good.
So this drink you made us, and I asked for this. This was something I had last time I was here at Chez Francois, and it's more of a summery drink. But you know what? We're on the water. We're gonna have a summery drink.
So this is we call it Le Coq. So this is great. So Le Coq is made by Saucy Brew. Brent Zimmerman's a buddy of ours. Brent Zimmerman's, I think, has been coming here since he was 12. And now he's very famous, very successul. So he owns this Saucy Brew in Hingetown down in Cleveland. So I was just bullshitting with him one day, and I said, what about a beer? And he goes, hey, you could come down and we could create your own beer, but we'd want 100 cases from you guys, whatever the cost to do it. Or you could come up with one of our beers and rebrand it. So this is their Mexican lager. And it's just a great summer. It's very Corona-ish, and stuff. Le Coq, the rooster, is a famous bird of France. But my grandson, Sebastian, we have in our house, in our kitchen, we had this bell, this dinner bell. And the top of the dinner bell was this little rooster on top. And so one time Sebastian is upstairs with us, and he's going to bed, and he goes, I want my blanket. I'm like, well, down and get it. He's like, I'm not going down there. I'm like, why not, Sebastian? He goes, because the cockadoodle is going to get me. I'm like, the cockadoodle? I think the cockadoodle. So my wife grabs him. She brings him down into the kitchen. He goes, the cock, and he points at the cockadoodle. So that's where he came up with, you know. Navarre is kind of like a cognac. And this is out of France, at the Pyrenees, France. So we did that. We did a sweet vermouth. We did the chicken cock bourbon. And I think that was it. I think we played around with a little bit of the bitters. But that was another way how you get these cool like liqueurs. And again, you know, what's the name? There's a guy that's out of Minneapolis who has all these crazy bottles. Like he's Dolan, but he's also like Bonel. Have you ever heard Bonel? And there's other crazy like French aperitifs that no one ever heard of, and they were still around and probably about ready to go out of business or whatever. And all of a sudden, this guy came in and started touring around France and finding these bottles and bringing it back to the bartenders in New York City. And the bartenders like loving it. It's like, this is great. Now they're coming up with these crazy cocktails featuring all of these different liqueurs and different things. And so it's really been very, very interesting. God, you know, I'm losing my mind today as far as thinking of this. I forget that it's House of Pens, or a Pens House is the name of this distributor or this importer. Anyway, so years ago we had him in. We said, hey, why don't we let's do a dinner with you? And he said, oh, it's great, it's great. So he comes in from Minneapolis, and we're going to do all these vermouths side by side, and then we're going to do these different aperitifs. And I said, all right, what kind of cocktail? What do you got for me? And he's like, I don't have any cocktails. Like, what do you mean you don't have any cocktails? You're the importer. How do you not? He imported this thing in, and that was all he did. He never experimented with cocktails. He gave it all to the bartenders, but it was hilarious.
Oh, that's interesting.
So we're like, you got to be kidding me. You know, so we ended up doing it. So what we did is we came up with these cocktails, and we had everyone taste it first, and then we tasted it, and then we put it into the cocktail, and then we had a cocktail in front of them. So it's like, here it is by itself on its own. Here it is with the cocktail, and then.
Let me see. I might have
And this drink in particular, you put the Dickel in here,
I
correct?
put the Dickel on there.
Dickel, and then what else? It was just
Sour mix, a little bit of sour.
a little bit of sour.
Yeah.
And what do you call this?
That's a shandy. So shandy is a summer beer. A lot of it in Europe. The origins are European.
So we got the bourbon, the Lecoq, and the sour mix.
And sour.
Cheers.
Yeah, it's delicious. Yeah, so.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Could you have like 4 of these?
Yeah, this
Oh,
is
yeah. I mean,
right
it's just-
on the water
it's
in the
light,
summertime.
It's delicious, refreshing.
So, you know, when I was looking at these beers, I was like, well, you know, all these guys, these brewers were like so giddy because now they can make like 12% beer. I'm like, all right, how many of those can you have? Yeah. Like maybe one?
It's like drinking
Yeah.
truth.
Exactly.
You know, that's great. Now I'm done.
It's funny you say that because it's like everyone has a Great Lakes Christmas sale story, and it usually goes south on the 3rd. Like, there's no one that goes to 3 and has anything good to say.
No.
So
I
I'm
wanted
with you. It's a
something
one. It's a
refreshing.
one and done.
When we make a cocktail, we make anything, and the first tip is, that's really refreshing. I know now they're going to buy 2. I'm a business guy. I'm a business guy. I know I'm going to sell 2. It's Budweiser when they came up with drinkability. It's drinkability. I got guys that come upstairs. They want to watch a football game. Well, I want to watch a football game. I watch the whole football game. I want to have fun with my buddies. I can't drink all these craft beers because I'm going to be down the 3 sheets to the wind by the 3rd or 4th one in. But I'll drink 6 Budweiser or Bud Lights, and I'll be fine. It won't cost me that much, and I'll be good. I'll be happy. Yeah. Everything's good. And that's where this is like 4.3%. So this is very light. It's made with Mexican maize, so a little bit of corn, there's a little bit of corn in there, and it's just good, right? I mean, it's just so good, man.
It's different.
And the bourbon's kind of it's hidden in there.
Yes.
A little bit
Yes.
of undertones, but not too crazy.
Because I've had cocktails with whiskey or bourbon in beer, and they I don't know how to describe it. They don't mix. They're both in there.
And they
This
tend
actually,
to be well. They tend to be higher proof. Also, I mean, a higher
Right.
alcohol in them, and they're a very heavy bourbon taste, which I don't know that it always mixes well. This
Correct.
is fantastic.
this mixes
though.
very well.
Yes.
All right, so this is good actually because this is.
For the viewers, I spilled mine. I did not drink it all here on set.
I'm being responsible.
Then here is
This is one for sure.
Isn't that
I think,
really
I
good?
think,
Yes.
I think Katie and Jody will be big fans of this
Yes.
drink. This
Oh, yeah.
is fantastic.
And Matt, do you I know it's as we just talked more of a refreshing. Do you have it year round?
Yeah. Well, we just started the beer this year, so he made like 100 cases for me or something like that. It's really good, isn't it? It's just really nice.
You know what I will
absolutely.
say? Like I've had Leinenkugel Shandy and other Shandies.
yeah.
This has got a smoothness to it that I think is different than those. This is
All right,
really
so
good.
you can
Yeah, next
Perfect.
drink.
So Matt, you just gave us 2 new drinks here. Tell us what we have here.
So Vieux Carre, we talked about a little bit earlier. So I'm mixing equal portions of this. We could do George Dickel rye. We did this one. You could do Knob Creek rye is one that we always use. We always do Carpana Antica, sweet vermouth. You could do Dolan. You could do Kochi. You know, you could do vermouth from Lusta. You can do a number of different, whatever you want to do, whatever you like. It's always for sweet vermouth, always a rye, always a cognac. This one we use is Hennessy VSOP. I had to get it out there for Jess Hammer, whose family's been in the wine business forever, and Jess and her dad represent Hennessy, so it's good. It's good cognac. It's good stuff. And then Benedictine, a little bit of Benedictine, the smaller portions. So equal portions of the sweet vermouth, rye, cognac, a smaller portion of the Benedictine with Peychaud bitters from New Orleans and Angostura bitters.
And so, as Matt described, if you can see this in the video, perfectly appointed. You know, the garnish with the orange. You can't probably see it, but a nice, clear, square ice cube. I mean, just a real elegant-looking drink. And I'm going to taste it now because I just keep smelling it.
I'm
It
with you.
smells
Well,
it.
you know,
Cheers.
the other thing about this drink is, as
You taste it, it gets better because as the square starts to melt, it slowly integrates into the drink. So by the end, you're like, I'm ready for another one.
So you touched on something earlier, which is a well-balanced drink,
Right.
and that's definitely one of the themes in our show. So talk to me about the different bitters and why you pick. You know, a lot of times you'll just see them put one set of bitters on this drink.
That's the way this drink is called for. This particular, follow the recipe. The true recipe is this Peychaud. Again, these interesting bitters from New Orleans, and also made with Sazerac. And that's pretty much the only 2 drinks that I've seen. And I think that, you know, like any bitter, if you're going to sell it, you got to come up with a drink to put it in. You know, or it's going to sit on a shelf. Like, oh, I got this Peychaud, and they're kind of red, and they're kind of interesting, but what the hell do I do with it? So
It almost tastes like there's a chocolatey taste. Am I wrong?
the Peychaud,
In a good way. It's a.
Yeah.
Am I describing it right?
you smell that Peychaud has. I think about it. That might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Like a
Oh, gotcha.
like a cherry chocolate
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of taste to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely that. So,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Good. And this is called a.
Vieux Carre. Tennessee Williams play made out of based in New Orleans.
And this is your most out of the barrel drinks that you have. This is number 1.
Second one, the Manhattan.
First, this is a great after dinner, so this might not be your before. This might be your after dinner cocktail.
Well, again, you can sip it. It's not killing you.
Right.
This is.
It's not hot. It's smooth.
Oh, exactly.
And I like the. You know, it's funny, and we've talked about this before. The cubes make such a difference. It's just equally balancing it. You know, the way
Exactly.
it's melting in there.
And you get the right amount, you know, as you were saying, as the cube dissolves, that adds to it. If you have too many ice cubes in here, it becomes way too watery too quickly. So this is.
But even with bourbon, you'll drink your bourbons neat. Correct? I mean, you'll have some.
I when
like mine with cubes.
Exactly. So I'd say like the first time I ever try a bourbon, I try it neat, and then after that, I like it on ice.
Right.
I like
Right.
cold drinks. But
Right.
and this is, again, come to Chez Francois, come to Touche. This is a drink that you know is unique because we've gone to a number of places here. This is not one that you see on every menu for sure.
That's right.
And it's an offering that, quite honestly, outside of the way it looks, the presentation is outstanding, but well balanced drink and it is refreshing.
Well, and certainly a wide selection of bourbons too. I mean, as we look on the shelf, really something for everybody, which is phenomenal.
So what's the next drink that we have for today?
The barrel-aged Shea Manhattan, and so we are doing bullet bourbon. We could do whatever bourbon we want to do. And then we're doing half portion of vermouth. Again, what vermouth are we going to do? We're going to do Antica form. We can do Carpana Antica. We can do Kochi. We can do Dolan. We tend to do Antica formula for that. And then we're doing equal portions of Di Serrano, Amaretto, and then cherry herring. So it just adds a little more complexity. But it's very small. So 2 bottles of bullet, 2 bottles of bourbon, 1 bottle of sweet vermouth, and then 2 ounces each of the amaretto and the cherry herring.
Let's give it a try.
Here.
Cheers. Oh, it's so good.
That is.
So yeah, this is really, really smooth.
Exactly. I mean, this is, as we said, I mean, a lot of times Manhattans are made either with a higher proof, bourbon, and they come in too hot. This is a really smooth drink.
I don't think you need too hot.
Well, you showed us, Matt.
You know the high alcohol. Are you a high alcohol? I'm not sure what that does. Like, what is 120 proof? I don't know. What does it do? What is it? I don't know.
I'm with you all day. It's all about flavor, the finish of it. The higher alcohol content does nothing for me. It's the balance of the drink. And so what we've talked about today, I think really this resonates with me because a lot of Manhattans I think are done either not the same where it's balanced or with a higher proof that I don't think resonates with the drink.
It's like bad bartenders we've talked about who don't know what they're doing. They think I'll make the drink stronger because the customer will like that.
Yeah.
Well, if I wanted that, I'd ask you for a shot.
Absolutely.
I asked for something that's flavorful.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be strong, or I'd say I wanted it strong. So this is enjoyable. Wow.
Cheers.
But the Luxardo cherry is the.
We had this guy, Frank Komorowski, he passed away years ago, but he was always one of the cherries, always pushing the cherries. Hey, you gotta get bitter cherries, you gotta get bitter cherries. And in the end, I think before he passed away, we finally got Luxardo. But these are only in the States the last 10 years or so.
The pure maraschino cherries we're used to, it makes every drink pink. This darkens it. It looks more bourbon whiskey sort of look.
And they're just delicious. They're just like they're rich.
Oh,
They're
my God.
They're just so good.
But again, these it's really only happened like in the last 10 years, that all these great ingredients now, because we used to have bad ingredients. Now all of a sudden, who the other thing that was interesting about this book, Last Call, I think it was called, was like the one of the premier restaurant groups that trained a lot of great bartenders was TGI Fridays. Before they got bought by Darden Group, they did everything fresh, everything, and then they dumbed it down.
Talk about a complex menu too, right? I mean, just
And
be honest.
it took
A year to get on that stage. You had a bar back for like 6 months. I mean, it was you were on top. You were on top of the world when you were a bartender at TGI Fridays before they got bought by there. And then again, a different vision comes in. No one knows exactly what you're doing. I think the guy that started TGI Fridays was Smith and Walensky. But again, it was his vision of what he wanted. And now a new person comes in, and again, it's like private equity. They come and they start cut. What can we cut? Forget the Luxardo. Those are $1. We got to go to the Maraschino. Those are 50 cents. Forget the ice cube that costs 60 cents to 80 cents. We're gonna do regular cubes that cost 30 cents.
But then they say, no one said anything. So maybe we can cut back a little more. And then they cut back a little more. It's like, did anyone say anything? No, nobody said anything. Everyone thought it, but they didn't say it because no one really says anything unless they go on the internet. So that's what happens. And then next thing you know, you don't have any business. You're like, what the hell happened? It must be COVID. It must be something else, not us.
Exactly. And one of the things that we've talked about is, we like to go out to places such as Chez Francois, and let's say we go out 2 couples. There's 4 things on the menu. 3 of us may buy things that you make a bit of money off of, and
Right.
1 you make very little. And when you start cutting off the ones that have low margins, all of a sudden those 2 couples don't come. They go somewhere else. And so one of the things that I want to first off say is thank you so much today. This is not only has been an education, but also outstanding cocktails. We can't wait to come for our dual anniversary. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I will tell you, as I said earlier, I'm gonna have to up my bitters game. I literally
we have learned so much today.
It's been very educational, and we appreciate it.
To us, we like the Bittercube. That's us. There's other ones out there, but that's the one that we kind of. Fee Brothers is good. Bittercube's better.
So come visit Chez Francois and Touche. See this facility. It's beautiful in the summertime, but really a great experience any time of the year. 555 Main Street, Vermilion, Ohio, right off the highway. Great location, great staff, great owner, and we highly recommend.
And like we said, we spent very little time talking about the menu. Their food menu is off the charts. One of the best. We've come here multiple times. It is, if you're going for an anniversary special event or just a Friday night out, I'm going to tell you right now, you can't beat the menu. And we've gone in depth about the cocktail selection. We've only touched the surface. There is so much more.
A couple said our kids don't like to come. They said they just don't change the menu enough. I'm like, what are you going to change? I said, we have our truffle dinner right now. We're in truffle season, and they go, it's always kind of the same. I said, let me ask you something. Do you change Thanksgiving? Do you change the meal? No, you don't change the meal Thanksgiving. So if you're going to come once a year, enjoy the truffle dinner.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.